Right.
Now we know.
Never mind that.
Better say something. Better say something good. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hey, we did not drop any nuclear bombs yet. Something's
Happy day.
okay.
Nobel Peace Prize.
So tonight we're looking at chapter 16, the Bodhisattva Path by Chogyam Trungpa, which introduces the 6 Paramitas. Did you guys have a chance to read it? Yeah? It's got a lot to say.
Yes.
I was taught the Paramitas as a contemplation practice, taking one at a time, considering it in depth for a month or so, seeping myself in the topic, seeing how my heart measures up to the ideal of each transcendent quality. Looking at generosity, for example, you will see how you're not generous, how your experience is much smaller and more restricted. You will see what holds you back, and presumably when you see, you can let it go. So, rather than just reading about these qualities and taking notes, we were told to sit with them and mull them over and maybe try to integrate a few new activities into our daily lives. Like, if you're doing generosity, start doing something more generous than you want to be. Like, if you don't usually give money to homeless people, let's say, or unhoused people, you start doing that just to see what it does to you, stretch a little bit. And then examining honestly how all of that resonates or does not resonate. And as we discussed last week, a practice like this is not for everyone. In this chapter, in fact, Chogyam Trungpa says, he starts out by saying, the path of a bodhisattva is for those who are brave and convinced of the powerful reality of Buddha nature that exists within themselves. So he's saying that if you have already learned how to stabilize your mind, rest peacefully in the awareness of your own Buddha nature, then this is a good next step for you. And also, it's important that through the discipline of sitting meditation, you have already developed some bravery. You can look honestly at your own mind, stay present with what comes up no matter what, emotions or whatever, and become somewhat familiar with the ebb and flow of stuff. So you don't get bowled over when something comes along. That's what we mean by bravery. Hi, Nita. How you doing? Come on in. So you learn all of that kind of steadiness and bravery through the meditations and disciplines of the Theravada or the foundation part of our path that we've been talking about all through this class. You should have enough experience of the broad awareness that comes from a stable meditation practice, some familiarity with Buddha nature, or at least with a bigger state of mind in yourself. And remember that we said before that compassion arises naturally from awareness. If you see a big picture, you feel big compassion. Especially if you've also trained in loving kindness. So, as this chapter says in the first few lines, Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana are successive. Each one builds on the next or the last. So everything Doug taught us in the Theravada will lead to what we're discussing now, or it will at least prepare us for it. And we are strongly advised not to skip over any of those preparations. It just doesn't work. So for me, the most important note in this chapter comes at the end of the first couple of paragraphs when he says, and I'm quoting, the Bodhisattva Path is not trying to be good or kind, but we are spontaneously compassionate. We are compassionate because we have vision that sees beyond the preservation of ego. The word transcendent is used for this idea of qualities or virtues that draw on a panoramic vision that has evolved through stable, peaceful training in awareness and mindfulness. So compassion has arisen on its own, out of our experience of peace and space and openness. Having arisen in us, this compassion compels us to develop even more, to keep going. Okay, we're feeling a little somewhere, now we feel we want to go even more. And we want to become more skillful at taking care of people, at healing the world, do whatever it takes to keep going forward. So that's also where the bravery comes from, a sense of being compelled. So that is the framework for looking at these paramitas and them as contemplations. First, that we're already feeling stable and compassionate. We have tamed ourselves, and because of that, we have some bravery and some willingness to stretch further. We can see that there is another shore across the river, and we feel an urge to get there, to make the effort to get there. And second, we have learned some skills, especially the skill of honestly examining ourselves. And now we see how important it is to keep growing. We want more skill. If the peace and compassion we have obtained so far is not stable enough, we will not want to jeopardize anything with these paramita practices. We will see the river, but decide that we're not ready to cross it. And that's okay. That is totally okay. We can sit by that river as long as it takes, until we feel the inner motivation to push further. There's no hurry, no agenda. We work at our own pace. And the work never ends, by the way. Everything we start to understand compels more learning. Or at least that's my experience. I don't have to beat myself into doing these new practices. I only have to respond to my own curiosity and follow my nose as it pulls me forward. So here's something that Pema said about paramita practice. Suppose there was a place we could go to learn the art of peace, a sort of boot camp for spiritual warriors. And instead of spending hours and hours disciplining ourselves to defeat the enemy, we could spend our time learning to dissolve the causes of war. Such a place might be called Bodhisattva training for the servants of peace. The methods would include meditation practice and Tonglen and these 6 paramitas that are a raft carrying us across the river of samsara. By the way, I'm quoting that from a document that I have. It's called the Essential Pema Children. Someone put this together, I don't know, 10 years ago. It's a 65-page PDF file, and it cites her books. It sort of organizes all of her teachings the way we have done this class, Four Noble Truths, starting at the very beginning, going all the way. And then it tells you which book she speaks to that subject. So I have put it up on our Google Drive, and it's a PDF, so you can all have it. I don't even know where I got it from. So I want to pause now. I've said a lot. What do you guys think? What do you think of the reading? Is there anything you want to say? No? Well, I have another little short Pema video. This one, you'll just listen to it because I didn't set up the TV for you to watch it, but it's just her sitting in a chair. So, yeah, you want to hear it? It's just 5 minutes. So, let's share the screen. And computer. And you guys at home get to see it. The rest of you have to listen.
Now there's 6 of them.
She says does the word
Word
Paramitas?
paramita means going to the other shore. Sounds simple enough. It's kind of a traditional spiritual metaphor. You're sort of in one place and you travel to this other shore. The implication being that on this shore, we're all messed up, and on that shore, we're compassionate, loving, kind, open-hearted, open-minded. We have tremendous equilibrium. Nothing throws us. I mean, we're just like what we always wish we could be, right? On the other shore. So traditionally they say this other shore is going beyond dualistic thinking, which is to say going beyond limited thinking, going up beyond the kind of thinking that gives you ground under your feet. So this is the interesting point. Getting to the other shore is not really the main thing. It's the journey of going from needing certainty and security, needing something to hold on to. It's the journey of beginning to relax with that, moment by moment as it occurs in our life, that begins to feel like we've arrived at a place where things don't, at a place where we feel more open and more brave. But actually, getting there is not the point, because the spiritual path is not like a ladder that you climb. Rather, it's like a path that you explore everlastingly, forever. It's not, the spiritual journey is not like a state of being that you try to accomplish later, but it's paying attention with this kind of tenderness and intelligence to the ground under your feet. It's paying attention to this very moment, to the enlightenment that is right under your feet. So this idea of taking a journey to the other shore can be misleading. If you think of it as climbing a ladder or leaving behind all that is difficult and unpleasant, it's actually taking right along with you all that is difficult and unpleasant. It's actually going right into the midst of suffering and pain. Because, right, that's where the help is needed, right? Our own suffering and pain of others. It would be nice if the way to really develop a tenderness and the ability to love and true compassion would be that we could just jump over suffering and pain. And secretly, when people start meditating or on any spiritual path, that's what you're wishing for. That's why most of you came to this retreat. So it's natural, that you think that I have this difficulty and that difficulty, and then by listening to certain teachings, applying them to my life, developing certain practices such as meditation or whatever it might be, and applying them to my life, then then I won't have those problems anymore. But the idea here is to more an exploration of an exploration everlastingly of whatever presents itself to you. A kind of exploration is one word, but you could say a kind of everlasting curiosity about whatever presents itself to you. So diving right into fear, anger, loneliness, grieving, death, just whatever it might be, heartburn, ingrown toenails, when you epitomized by being on the airplane and you get an aisle seat when you wanted a window seat. But this everlasting curiosity, cultivating this everlasting connection with curiosity about what's happening with your emotions and thoughts and what is going on, rather than a kind of getting rid of or avoiding or even. So the word change doesn't sort of come into this, changing ourselves. Because the idea of changing yourself is always that what you are now is not good enough. And this is more starting with what you have is good enough. And then the training of the Paramitas is this training in steadfastness with oneself. Through thick and thin, high and low, agreeable and disagreeable, some kind of steadfastness. This is the essential courage, is this steadfastness with oneself. And it translates into an amazing capacity to enter into more and more difficult situations. Being steadfast with yourself begins to translate into being steadfast with your world, being steadfast with other people.
Someone once wrote a
Whoops,
poem.
I'm sorry, wait a minute, let me stop her. Oh no, that's my story, thank you. She's doing something else on her YouTube channel, so it's just gonna keep going. Okay, any comments or questions or thoughts?
For some reason, that made me think about not a ladder but a path, she said. And I'm going there for some reason. I walk on paths in the woods all the time, and I'm just never connected that.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'm like, oh, okay. Like a path.
So what do you mean by a path in the woods? What is it like, the quality of, or the experience of a path in the woods?
So what she said about that you explore forever, taking everything with you, all the suffering and pain with you,
Yeah.
and whatever presents itself to you, everlasting curiosity. All that is true about path in the woods, so it really just kind of sunk in with me, because I've Buddhist path, I've heard that many times,
Right.
Oh, it's like that,
It's a path.
Yeah, it's a path, okay, so that was good. I want to just, I don't know about you, today.
Okay. So there was a lot in there. I mean, the thing about, also about really not rejecting yourself, not hating yourself, not like doing this because you're broken and you need to be fixed or whatever, but really kind of like looking for the goodness that might already be there. That's a big focus shift from what we usually do, right?
Right.
Pretty important. Okay, so you're gonna make me do all the talking again. Stick for Betsy, thank you. But I have
And something you said there, it's not like what we usually do, because we're usually, we got some goal, and something we want to achieve. And that's also like the path in the woods, because we're like, always like, we gotta do 5 miles, all this kind of stuff, but really we're just walking the path. That's what we're doing. So not trying to get somewhere or something.
Yeah.
But it endlessly unfolds in front of you. You don't have to reach, strive, all that stuff. I mean, you kind of do, but
No, but I mean,
not really. You follow your curiosity.
yeah. And she said in there, a lot of us, honestly, if we're really strictly honest, we take up a spiritual practice because we're hoping we can hop over the pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just bypass it, go around it.
Yeah.
And
Like my life's gonna just be all better.
it'll all be better. I'll be
Then it crashes.
the person I always wanted to be.
Right. And then something always happens.
And then that's not the point anyway,
No, it's
right?
not.
Think about what you miss about learning when you're doing that. You just don't see because you're getting through it instead of exploring. So these paramitas are, the idea is that they're supposed to describe the qualities of a fully realized bodhisattva. They are sequential, so you start with one, and then when you've got that, the next one sort of arises almost automatically. And they come actually from an evolving understanding of emptiness. That is the key concept of the Mahayana path, that things are not what they seem. Things do not contain all the heaviness and solidity. They're not concrete blocks. We are not concrete pillars in a concrete world. Everything is fluid and open. And so we contemplate their virtues and look to establish them in our lives as a way to see more clearly how we are typically making things solid by our habits and thinking. So the 6 are, let me just say them again. The Sanskrit word is dana, which is translated as generosity usually. And then shila, which is translated as discipline. And then vishanti, which is translated as patience. Virya, which is usually energy or effort. Dhyana is meditation, and prajna is wisdom. And the first 5 are skillful means, and the 6th one is wisdom. Like I said earlier, the Mahayana path is a path of training in skillful means and wisdom. And it's important some people start this paramita practice with the wisdom one first, because they're all infused with the wisdom, which is understanding how things are. The thing we just described, the openness, the fluid, the emptiness. But most people, including in this book, and Pema always started us with generosity. And I think maybe that's because generosity because we're basically so intrinsically selfish. Honestly. Our whole focus is to first protect ourselves, right? Defend ourselves and get through life without, successfully. And so just generosity is really good at shaking that whole structure quickly, directly, and immediately. So tonight I want to look at just at generosity, talk about what Choden people said about it, what some other people have said about it, and then we'll look at the rest of them next week. Okay. And again, just think about the idea of this as a practice where we'll talk about that, how you would practice contemplating generosity if you wanted to. So, Choden Trungpa says that transcendent generosity is actually a kind of radiant, open, and receptive communication, as opposed to ordinary generosity, which looks down on needy people and judges them. Do you remember that part? He said, and I'm quoting, "Generally, when we look at an object, we do not allow ourselves to see it properly. Automatically, we see our version of the object, instead of actually seeing that object as it is. We are quite satisfied because we have manufactured our own version of the thing within ourselves. And then we comment on it, we judge it, we take or reject it, but there's no real communication going on." And that's a pretty specific idea to think about, that you might be walking around through the world thinking you're communing with things, but actually communing with what you think they should be or how you think they are or whatever like that. So it's interesting to me that he starts generosity as a question of communicating. So you could take that paragraph or that idea and try it on. Do you see yourself doing what he says in your daily life? Do you find that when someone needs something, your first reaction is judgment? Do they deserve it? Do you have enough to share with them? You know, there's this like parsing. And how would it feel to just give away whatever you have without judgment, without just giving away? No hesitation. And without expecting anything in return. I mean, what are they going to give me if I give them this, right? Not hoping for praise or gratitude. And realizing that once the gift leaves your hands, it disappears. You're not attached to where it goes or how it is received. You know, like, I'll give you this only if you blah, 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 right? So that's the idea, that we play with generosity in that way. So do something generous and then watch how you feel about it, or see that there's an opportunity to be generous and why do you hang back? What's the deal? So as ordinary people, the problem we have is not to force ourselves into being one of these qualities, generous or disciplined or patient, but rather to see the uselessness of being anything else. To see that any other attitude is based on a false sense of a fixed, permanent world and a solid self. So again, I would like to pause and see what you guys are thinking.
So when you talk about generosity, initially I was just thinking like financial generosity, but then I was thinking back at work, and people who are always nice to me and help me at work, I'm always very eager to help them and be generous with my time and efforts.
Yeah.
But the people who really don't work with me and they purposely try to make things difficult, I'm like, I don't really want to help them. Like if they ask for help, I'm like, nah, yeah, they didn't. It's always that back and forth. I need to work on that. But I like that because it's not necessarily does he deserve it, but sometimes I think, at least for me, it's have they been kind to me? And I think it is a kindness versus a generosity, but really it's a generosity because the time really is, that's really a hot commodity.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing, yeah. And then taking any effort to support what I'm doing for work it's a big deal. It's not their work, it's mine. So they're making me look better. But yeah, I when you said that, I was like, yeah, that kind of resonates. I need to work on that one.
Well, something to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a piece of this that is a little stumbling block for me.
Yeah.
That is, okay, someone asked, let me try to give a very specific example.
Yes.
This is several years ago. I was working in a coffee shop. It was downtown. Homeless guy came in, asked for money. I checked my pockets. Sorry, I don't have anything. He went on about asking everyone else at the table, and then he sat down. And I didn't really think about it. I was waiting for something to finish on the computer. I went and talked to him. We just chatted for a few minutes. It was great. It was interesting. And this repeated for several days.
Mm-hmm. With the same guy?
Same guy.
Okay.
I used to know his name, but my memory's not very good. And then after a week or two of doing this, he came in and he got where he didn't ask me for money. He would just sit down and we would chat.
Uh-huh.
What do you do and where you are? It's cold last night, whatever.
Yeah.
And then one day he came in, sat down and started chatting, and I thought, oh, I've got a $5 bill in my pocket. I handed it to him. And he looked at me like, what the fuck, man? What the And so, I guess I stumble with people ask me for something, and I used to think what was arising was judgment. But it wasn't, do they deserve it, or do they need it, or can I share it? The thought was, will that help them?
Mm.
And so, I think that's a reasonable thing. Will that help them? Is this a kindness? Or is this just the easy, is giving someone $5 the easy path? Was that kind?
Right.
Or was it just easy. And that is something easy for me, I mean. It's
They
easy,
wanted
it's
the
easy.
conversation.
The conversation is clearly more valuable to
Oh,
me.
yeah.
And I'm not trying to say I figured that out. I didn't figure that out until he looked at it. I figured that out after the fact.
So you think he was offended that you sort of became buddies and then you
Yeah,
gave him money?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's
And that's not what he wanted money, but he'd rather have conversation. And so I guess what I'm trying to ask is, or the thought, the question is it reasonable? Is it consistent with this
Yeah.
approach to take a moment and think, would this be helpful?
Well, I say absolutely, because again, he's using the word communication.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you're actually curious about the person and the situation. That's not what he described of where
It's
you-
not judgment.
Yeah, and you've constructed in your own attitude, oh, he's a unhoused person, blah, blah, blah. You have this thing, and you're not actually looking at him. That's what the problem is. So if you're actually looking at the person and trying to skillfully relate to what they need or what is going on, that's genuine generosity.
Well, because it leads towards wisdom, right? It leads
Exactly.
towards prajna.
Yeah.
That's what all ties in. It's like what does the situation really need versus what's the checklist that, you know, the rule or whatever. No, what does it really need? What's the feeling of it?
Yeah.
You know, that's where you go.
Yeah.
And that's where the openness comes in, because, you know, I never heard generosity described that way, but in our reading, you know, if you're open, then you'll see
That's right.
what is needed. And you'll automatically, if you can't get it, then you just do, you know.
Yeah.
It makes it kind of simple.
Right. That's what I liked about the chapter was describing generosity as really being defenseless, you know, being unguarded, you know, and because, you know, that sense of calculation or what do I need to do or whatever, you know, that puts separation between you and what's going on, you know, but if you can be completely open to it, just open-hearted, tender-hearted, you know, then that makes you very close to the situation. It's very intimate then, you know, because there's not your persona that you need to maintain or whatever, you know, it's a lot more raw. And so then you're much more likely to really see what's going on, to be able to pull your wisdom into it instead of just, you know, what would an upstanding person do? What's the checklist, you know, or what are they going to expect, or what might happen? It's like, no,
Yeah.
just get in there and listen, you know, just be open, so.
Communicate, right? Yeah. Listen and hear. So, yeah, you know, like, it's not generous to give cake to my diabetic sister.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Even though she's
Right.
really loving cake right now.
Right.
So, you know, I can instead try to hear what she needs otherwise, but anyway. And especially if I give her the cake and she eats it, then boy, do I judge her. See?
You've
It's all
given
your
yourself.
fault. You're that way because you do it wrong. Anyway,
Well, I really loved that last sentence. It says where you see its uselessness of being anything else but generous. It's like, wow, that's it.
no, I like it. Yeah, and once you see that, the generosity is easy. It's not painful to give whatever you have to give. Okay, so, thank you for speaking all of it, I really appreciate it. I want to go back to a line that Pema said last week, I quoted her last week saying that we are trapped in suffering because we are committed to our own comfort at any cost. And because we judge ourselves, trying to be good, we are aggressive towards ourselves, rejecting our best nature in pursuit of one we like better. So this is the issue, letting go of fixed ideas about who we are and giving up the struggle to be a better person by rejecting who we already are. And consider how these contemplations on generosity might expand our understanding of who we are and what we can do. Thich Nhat Hanh talks about generosity in his book called The Heart of the Buddha's Teachings. He talks about all of them, and I'm going to be quoting them. He says, "We don't keep anything for ourselves. We only want to give. When we give, the other person might become happy, or they might not. But it is certain that we become happy."
It's better to give than to receive.
Yeah. He also says that the greatest gift we can give is our true presence from Him. Also, our stability, our freedom from afflictions, our freshness, our peace, the space people need to take care of themselves rather than expecting them to take care of me. And quoting him again, he says, "We cannot buy these gifts, this peace and freshness, at the market. We have to find them through our meditation practice, and the more we offer, the more we have." And then I'm quoting Pema one more time. She says, "By offering whatever we can, $1, a flower, a word of encouragement, we're training in letting go." So, there you go. It's a trick. You know, there's a little game to play with and see what it does to you. And I think it's really important to say this is not an exercise in judging what kind of person you are. Even if you run into like your own resistance to being generous, let's say, or your own protection or whatever. You know, and I think it's also fair to say that there's times when someone needs something that you just have to not. It's okay, you know. I was listening to Heather Cox Richardson. Do you know who she is? Okay. She's this, a lot of us are addicted to her. She's a historian who talks about the current situation that America's going through right now and puts it really nicely in a historical context. So Heather Cox Richardson, you can Google her. She's got like 2 million followers on YouTube. But anyway, what she said was, okay, last night when we were maybe gonna drop a nuclear bomb somewhere, and she said, if you can, you know, think about people that might be more scared than you are, or what you can do, or whatever. But if you can't, and you need to just lose yourself in a bad movie, that's okay too. You know, because we're gonna need you later. And you can do whatever you need, you know. Yeah, it was. It was like, because I don't have anything in me to give right now. I just don't.
Right.
I do taxes, you know, as a volunteer. I'm just telling you, this morning, this woman sat down with me. She has 3 children at home. The oldest one is 18. And she said that she and her family sat around the television last night at 8 o'clock when the bomb was supposed to hit. And they were holding hands. And they were like praying that it wouldn't happen. And I'm like, well, that just blows my mind, you know, that we have to do that. And I'm not trying to be political. I'm just saying that these are rough times and we just have to take care of ourselves. But anyway, so if all you can do is give someone a flower.
All you can do is literally all you can do.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes it's a lot and sometimes it's a little.
Yes, and this, again, this goes back to, these are practices like practicing your piano lessons, right? These are lessons, these are effort, these are designed to expand your consciousness or whatever. And sometimes that's not the right thing to be doing, that's all there is to it.
Right.
Sometimes you should just sit and listen to someone else play music, right? So, read poetry, whatever. But there are times, and they are right, in my experience, they are right to say you develop a certain level of comfort in the Buddhist path, familiarity with it, a sort of, you know, it starts speaking to you, and then it sparks more curiosity, and then you just feel like, hey, maybe I could do this, or maybe I could do that, and then you reach for something like this. I'd like to work on the skill, the Bodhisattva idea is a life devoted to helping people. And if you find yourself helping people and wanting to be more skillful about it, then these are good things to pull up.
I'm trying to think about that, you mentioned it from homeless person on the corner. And I do give money sometimes, small amounts to people, but it's always the thought process. So that's the thing. How much should I do?
Yeah.
So should I watch that just go on? Anyway, so but the idea of just being open and present, and then instead of all the thoughts going through your head, just like it's a practice. And you can do it, and if you're open and present, then you won't make a mistake.
Well, and with regard for somebody who's unhoused, or you see them like, we go to Community Bakery and you see these people talking to themselves on this curb, agitated, but obviously in some kind of state. Maybe all you do is say hello to them, look them in the face. Yeah, see them. And instead of moving away to the other side of the sidewalk.
I've worked with the population a little bit, and that's all they want. They want to be seen as human beings. So, if anything, eye contact on the side of the road, they'll wave back. I keep snacks in the car that I just give, and I just keep it staffed and just give a little package of crackers. And so I don't know the right answer, but I know from the feedback I've gotten from them, getting to know them, they just want to be seen. They want to be treated like you.
Yeah.
Like your guy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, anything you do that engages them is enough.
Yeah.
And you don't need to question it. You don't need to question it. Because you won't need that $5. You might, but you're not going to be given $5 every single time. So if it strikes you to do that, because there's some times where I'm like, I got $2 today. I'll do $2. And I really just try not to question it. I know maybe that's not, but I just also you're in a light usually. I'm usually at a light. So that's why I keep snacks, because I can just go whatever. But
That's a great idea.
just those package of crackers are just the best because they're protein and a cracker. And I started that several years ago. The kids always wanted to give them something. We were one giving a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you know what? I still think about that. I'm like, it's still fine. But either way, it's just that moment of generosity is more just the communication of the universe opening up for you two to flow in and out of each other.
We all think that can never happen to us, but you don't know what happens in these what's happened.
Right.
Maybe they lost a kid or something, and they just fell apart. Maybe you just don't know. Because no one has ever said, I want to be an alcoholic. I want to be a
Right. I want to grow up to be.
Yeah, nobody ever, they don't choose that.
They just don't.
And sometimes all they need is a hand to help them up, but people don't often give them that chance.
You don't get, I guess my thought is you don't get to decide on how that money gets used, even if they do use it on drugs. You put it out there. So.
But even then, sometimes they're hurting bad for that stuff.
Right. So they need some relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's in some ways it's a cruelty to enable them, but
so hard.
all of us nobody here is 25 years old, I don't think.
Yeah.
And we all have aches and pains. We'll imagine some of the things that they might be going through, especially with withdrawal or it's pain that it's not a pain I've ever experienced. I have seen that I've seen it before, but I've never experienced it. And you don't really know, you know,
No, we have no
I
idea.
mean, you know, unless you've been one of those people and you've had that, and they can tell you what it feels like, I guess, but, yeah.
So the other thing besides money is like one of my hardships is the people who just want to, they're lonely. Like I do, again, when I'm doing taxes, there's a lot of times there's this old person and they just want to talk to me. They just want to tell me about their life and I got someone waiting and, you know, and I think about work, you know, people that are just needing your attention for a minute. It's hard for me. It's one of the ones where I'm like, yes, but say it fast. Yes.
It's a situation where we're giving to that person necessarily takes from this person.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only,
Yeah.
you've got so many hours in the
Yeah,
office,
yeah.
and
But I'll tell you something that I've learned in this. I've been doing this for AARP for like 10 years. Poor people wait.
Yeah.
They spend a whole lot of their time waiting.
Mhm.
So I say to them, oh, I'm so sorry you had to wait. They're like, oh, I don't mind, you know, get my taxes done.
My life.
It's okay, it's my life, yeah. What are you talking about? We wait all the time. And that would be, you know, in this situation, the old chatty guy finally left and the new one's came. I said, sorry you had to wait. Oh, it's okay.
yeah.
No place else to be right now. So anyway,
I was gonna
yeah,
back up because even back to the Heart Sutra, where we suffered through all the emptiness of this and that. And then he opens with about generosity, about walking through the world and basically seeing the emptiness of things as opposed to objects that we are there for us to maneuver around or use. And that seems to me kind of preliminary to actually communicating with sentient beings. You know, I was thinking it was like, well, communicating with a chair. I don't know what that means exactly. Except for that you're readjusting your internal sense of, because I'm sharing the space with this is, and because I see it, it is kind of figuring, actually, gray and large in my world right now. Or mid-size world. And it is actually something that, so that's the communication. It's like, I don't see it because it's, I got one.
right.
Don't care. But anyway, I'm just saying that he starts out really abstractly, actually, kind of communicating with the world, but it was an inanimate world.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, well,
I missed
can
the
I
part
do
in the
that?
reading where he said about generosity toward chairs. I missed that part. There's a
No, but
early
he was
reading.
talking, not chairs in particular, but when you go through the world, seeing things as they are,
Yeah.
not how you use them,
Oh, okay.
not how they are
Okay.
good for you or
Right.
bad for you,
Yeah.
which is our standard habitual relationship
Yes.
with, like,
Yeah.
you're in the way of my getting to a
Right.
coffee shop, you know, or a line or something like that. It's like objects.
Are you saying that if you're able to see a chair in and of itself, then you might stand a chance at seeing a person in and of themselves, regardless of their utility to you,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's just like-
Okay, yeah.
That's what I mean. So he starts out with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that means an internal reconfiguration that allows for you to look at people in a way that you are not, because really, we have more opinions about people than about chairs.
Right.
Yeah.
Start small.
Yeah, you have.
I mean, some
Yeah.
chairs are really.
some are, you know.
That's all right.
Unworthy chairs.
And spoons.
I mainly think, how can this chair serve me, you know, right? Like, it's not comfortable, I have to shift around it, I need a different chair, you know, that's right.
Very personal
Those
offenses.
chairs and people is just works of art, right?
That's it.
No utility.
But that's what the emptiness is about.
Yeah.
You know, that we were bummed out by, it seemed like at the time.
So when he says openness, because he talks about that a lot,
Yes,
is the emptiness kind of tied into that, you know?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Space, everything has more space in it than you think it does.
yeah.
And that's really a lot of the time when it's the idea that you actually do have time to pause and breathe some little bit. You don't. You think you don't. You're hurrying.
You don't have time for the thoughts later is what you're really battling with,
I think
right?
so.
I mean, I think about that too, because I'm like, why didn't I engage with that person? So I was like, oh, because it's gonna do this, and I'm gonna feel guilty about that, you know, and at least that's where my head all goes.
Well, you're protecting yourself from feeling bad about
So you
how
do
you
have
are.
time, but then the time for all the rest of it, that's where you just think about that's how I handle those situations. I'm like, I really should have engaged with that person, but I didn't have time for all the rest of it. I didn't have time for, there's a chance they might want to talk more than I had energy for. So it's protecting.
But then you end up talking to yourself about how you should have engaged. Yeah, so you spend the time.
Just do it.
Oh, that's so great, that's so great. So cute.
But that's the thing about the space, you know, to me, it's all of those calculations and judgments and assumptions and projects and like, that's what uses up all the space.
Yes.
You know, it's
Yes.
like you gotta clear
Right.
those things away.
Right, then you have the space. Space is there.
Well, to me, meditation is creating space. That's what it
Right.
is.
Yes.
Because you don't, you know, there's that part of your brain that's always going, you don't have time for this. Get up and do something useful. What is wrong with
You
you?
didn't finish that project you were working on.
Yeah, come on.
Cut it short.
The kitchen needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
What's your problem? And you find out, you take the space, there it is. There's more space, there's more time. It all flows together. So,
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
It always seems to me like that the core of this, and maybe this says more about me than it does about the subject matter, is that the core of it is curiosity.
Yes.
And curiosity is interesting to me in that it's inexhaustible. Willpower has never worked for me. You know, all these other things have never worked for me. But I mean, I can be just passing out tired, and I'm still curious. Where did this sleep? Why am I so tired? But the piece that I have trouble reconciling is that my curiosity can be unfocused. It can hop from squirrel to squirrel to squirrel.
Yeah.
That's so. In today, and I didn't finish the reading. I'll just confess that explicitly. Okay. But the part of the reading I did do, and in what we've discussed today, there's a path, and there's sequential, and there's ideas, and those words don't work for me. But it could just be where I am or whatever. I'm not saying that this should apply to anyone other than me. But to me, it feels less like walking on a path in the woods and more like lost in the middle of the woods, and there are no paths. They're just trees. They're just trees. There's no path. And it's just looking at this tree and then looking at that tree and then looking at that one over there. And I don't think, what I'm trying to say is, I don't think that's wrong. I don't think it's broken. I don't think it's a problem. Mm-hmm. It's just, my life has a lot more wandering in it than there's no path.
Yeah.
And but I do find discussing these things super helpful in the sense that when that squirrel runs by next time, I have a name for it and I can follow it for a little bit.
Right.
Then, that's the generosity squirrel. Let's follow that one for a while. But the thought of doing that in a meditation every day for a month, it just seems exhausting to me.
Yeah,
It just seems, I mean, it'll come up every once in a while,
Right,
maybe
no, that's
once a
what-
week, but.
it's not for everybody, and it's, again, that the point of saying it's a path is that, you're not at that part of you're not at that bend in the path yet. You know what I mean?
I haven't even found the path yet.
Yeah, you haven't even found the path, that's right, you're still going, what?
That's where all of us kind of are.
Yeah.
We are. We're just kind of like looking at all of it. I think
Yeah.
maybe there's a bunch of paths and we're like, which one do we go on? And we just need to sit still. That's what I'm trying to do.
People are
Just
on
sit
the
still.
path.
Yes.
I guess so.
People are on the
I
path.
guess so.
It's not this one you think you should be.
That's right.
You are on the path.
I think it's really that, I honestly think that people see the path looking backwards.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
I know, I wandered for years in the world of New Age,
Sure.
Buddhism, yoga, whatever you want to do, being a hippie, So, but then I finally settled down to a path.
Yeah.
Eventually, it took me a long time.
I've tried different paths. Many of them have the same names that you used. But I started this 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, and it's really worked well. I think it's worked well for me. Is that I don't have a path, but I make a point to meditate each day. I have a goal. Sometimes I meet that goal. Sometimes I don't. But the goal is, I sit down, settle for a few minutes, and then think. Just kind of ask myself, what are we going to do today? And some days it's metta, some days it's just here and now. It's different things, different days.
Yes.
And at first I thought I was cheating or failing or not following the path, but it has been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. So that's why I guess I'm trying to say that I feel like I'm lost in the woods, and I think that's
It's all right.
correct. I think that's
It's fine for
correct.
you, and that's great, that's great. I mean, there is, Tom, you want to say?
I was gonna say, the thing about path is this idea, like you can see what's in front of you, and that can be comforting to some people and limiting to others. But I mean, thinking about how Buddhism is a path, I mean, really, it's not a path in the sense that you know what's gonna happen next. Because ideally, you're sort of on the edge of the unknown, right? That's where the magic happens, is when you've dropped all of your usual assumptions, and it's not a project, and there's not a perk chart for next week or whatever. No, you're really just waiting to see what happens next. And all you've got is sort of this very vague compass. It's like, it seems a little brighter over here than it does over there, so I'm gonna start tacking this way. That's like about all the direction you really have, is just this sense that you develop as you go along.
Right.
But of course, the way you develop that sense, I mean, that's the, being open and tenderhearted and being virtuous and being able to quiet the mind a little bit so that it's not complete cacophony, and those things let you feel that sense of where the brightness is. But you don't know what's next, because you're at the edge of what you know, ideally.
That makes sense.
That's a great way to look at that.
Yeah.
I want to say we're almost out of time, but curiosity to me is a luxury. Honestly, a
It
luxury.
is, yeah.
Because there's people who can't afford to be curious. They're
Right.
so,
That's true.
they're sick, they're whatever, whatever, they're hungry, right? They've got today to fix and deal with, or else. And so, I think to just celebrate that you have the freedom to be curious. And also it's funny how, the Buddha did not actually say, first you do this, then you do this, and then it's not a ladder, like Hannah said, it's more just a kind of approach to always being curious.
Right. The Eightfold Path is really just a collection of tools. You don't do the first one, then the second one. That's not how it works. It's like, what is the situation call for? This is
Yeah.
more like it.
But you'll see as we talk about the rest of the Paramitas that actually, if you work with generosity for a while and it helps you lose some of your selfishness and lose some of your territoriality and stuff like that, then discipline makes more sense. So they do kind of like build on each other too. Yeah. So we are out of time, and thank you for coming. You can read the same chapter again, because we're gonna do it again next week, and we'll talk about the rest of them. But now you have the gist of it, that, you know, each one is just a prompt, if you will, for your essay. All right?
Right.
This week, the prompt is generosity. Maybe something else, okay? So thank you. You can help us put the room, you can help us put the room together for the next group, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye, you guys. Anna, you doing okay? Are you okay, Anna? Okay. Bye.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you, Jill. See you later.
So,